Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Tiny Brains podcast. As always, we'll be discussing the top stories from the previous week in XR. I'm Kevin Joyce. I'm the CEO and founder of Tiny Brains, and I have with me Peter Graham, the Brigadier of Brains. Say hello, Pete.
Hey Pete.
Good stuff. So we're going to dive straight in with the pretty much the biggest story of the last week in XR, which is once again Disney. And this is not about a treadmill this time. Disney have invested in Epic Games a lot of money. Pete, you want to tell us what's about?
Yeah, a lot of money indeed, to the tune of 1.5 billion, which is no small feat in
Well, pocket change for Disney, but
yeah, yeah. Bob's got it just in his drawer somewhere, just a little bit of change. Yes, essentially they've invested in Epic Games because they want to invest in the metaverse, don't they? In Fortnite. They want to put Disney into Fortnite, so they're going to have I don't know, a Disney World. It's still early stages, but a whole Disney Fortnite world or whatever you can
so
imagine, really.
I mean, metaverse is still a very pointed term at this point. I think on a previous episode we actually discussed what metaverse means and how I don't like the term. But regardless, um, if you are going to build a metaverse of any kind, at this point in time, Epic Games and Fortnite are your most direct route, right? They're your best bet for bringing a metaverse to life. They've got the brand recognition, they've got the technology, they've got the power. You can't really go wrong, fingers crossed, at this point. Fortnite recently launched a new metaverse partnership. I believe it was with Lego. Am I
Yes,
correct in that?
I believe so.
Is that the one that launched, or is that the one that's coming? Anyway, they launched a new brand partnership for Fortnite not too long ago, which went super well. Um, so yeah, if you wanna launch your own brand as in a metaverse platform or a metaverse of your own with some assisted branding, it's Fortnite, right?
Well, that's it. Fortnite, it is really gaming focused, isn't it? Unlike some of the other metaverses out there, which are designed around community content creation, for example, Fortnite is really about getting gamers in, getting them playing. They do have the odd concert on there as well, don't they? But it is mainly about getting players in there and getting them having the battle royales, and then having it themed around, like you say, some of the branding partnerships that they have.
So I would argue, actually, Pete, that Fortnite has become significantly more than just the battle royales now. I think it's been a while since
Mhm.
you've looked into Fortnite.
Well,
I,
okay, there is a big. Uh,
I believe the battle royale part of Fortnite is now a minor. It's an accompaniment to the platform as a whole. But that's fantastic, gaming bridging out into other areas. The fact that a Fortnite is a game and also a PlayStation home style environment, not quite a rec room, but like a VR chat kind of scenario, as well as the option to game, is pretty significant. Now, Epic Games historically have presented a state of play event at GDC every year, and I don't know if they're doing it this year, but if they are, I would expect to hear more about this partnership there.
yeah, most certainly, which is only about a month away. So
Indeed. And of course, Tiny Brains will be in attendance at GDC. If you want to chat to us about anything at all,
woo!
you're welcome to buy me a coffee or maybe even have me buy you one. So reach out, get in touch. Always happy to meet. Moving on, we're going to talk about the Vive Ultimate tracker now. Now, this was previewed earlier in the year. I attended an event in London where they previewed the device, and it seems quite impressive. But we have a step forward in the plan for this. Pete, tell us what it's about.
Yes, well, Vive showed it at CES back in January, and then, like you say, your event, and it was primarily focused at the Vive XR Elite, their new mixed reality headset, and the Vive Focus 3, their previous enterprise focused VR headset. Now, it's a new beta program, and essentially it's opening it up to more third-party headsets. So now MetaQuest 3 and PCVR owners can buy the Vive Ultimate Tracker and track their legs and arms, their body parts, and whatever else they want to track.
So, like I say, I haven't had any hands-on with this device yet, but I mean, marketing spiel is marketing spiel, right? It's one of the things that we do. But from the marketing spiel, it did seem pretty impressive, a significant step up from the previous trackers. So yeah, I'd like to see how well this performs when it reaches a wider
Mm.
audience.
But yes, it's whether Quest 3 owners will want to buy a £600 tracking system for their £500 headset is another question, but at least the option's there.
Let's see if we can get some Vision Pro compatibility going. I'm sure somebody will hack that in somewhere along the line.
Oh yeah, well they've already hacked in Steam VR
Mhm.
compatibility, so yeah, they'll do something along those lines.
Oh, I look forward to seeing that. But yeah, moving on, we now have some particularly negative news for VR gaming in particular.
Boo!
Yeah. So Ubisoft have been fairly keen supporters on and off of VR from a very early
Hmm.
stage. They launched two titles, I believe, for the original Oculus Rift. There was Eagle Vision and I can't remember the name of the other one.
Werewolves Within, I
That
remember.
was it. Yeah. So they launched these two titles, both of which were welcomed by the VR community in the early days of VR. And they've also had some VR arcade games. They did an Assassin's Creed VR arcade game very early on, which was very, very little interactivity, but it was interesting. And they had a Far Cry one as well, which was developed by UK-based Dreams. But now they have their actual first true game rather than just an experience or whatever else. Launch on Quest 3, Assassin's Creed Nexus. Reports are middling to good. No one's saying it's outright bad. Some people got mixed feelings about it, but there are a lot of people that are quite enjoying it. Well, I say a lot of people, but not according to Ubisoft.
Well, they've had their recent earnings reports, as a lot of people do now around this time of year, and they're not that happy with the sales figures. It was a Quest exclusive, so Quest 2, Quest 3, and Quest Pro, but at the moment they're like, well, yeah, the figures didn't match our expectations, and currently the CEO, Yves Guillemot, I believe, he's like, yeah, they're not looking like they're going to be investing into VR in the long term. At the moment, they're still waiting. They're saying they're still waiting for it to take off before they're going to do any more investment. So this might be the last game from Ubisoft for a little while.
Yeah, it's a real shame because, like I say, Ubisoft have shown tepid interest, but interest nonetheless in VR from an early stage. So for them to turn around and say, actually, not yet. So when is yet? What kind of numbers do they hope to reach? And especially considering, according to reports, Meta co-funded a lot of this production. So
Well, I was trying to find
Meta's
some
back check.
numbers on it, and any numbers that I found was towards the end of December. It was on about 150,000 sort of sales. And again, that it's had another month and a half on top of that now. So it's probably breached 200,000. But when you're looking at Ubisoft,
But two
they're
hundred
waiting
thousand
to hit
isn't.
millions.
Yeah, it's not 20 million Assassin's Creeds, is it? Two
No,
hundred
no, not
thousand.
at all.
So yeah, I mean, I would hazard a guess that the game is going to turn profitable if it hasn't already for Ubisoft. But the key factor that I find a lot of people miss in these conversations of, well, if it's profitable, why don't they just keep doing it? It's because the resources, the dev teams that they've had on these projects could be diverted to something which makes more money.
Hmm.
Not that it's not profitable, it's that it's not profitable enough. So yeah, maybe we'll
Yeah.
see Ubisoft turn around. They've got the tech there now. They've developed the systems, the pipelines to create VR content. So maybe we'll see them turn around in a couple of years and go, actually, we'll get this another stab.
Hmm.
Maybe we won't.
Ubisoft have been cancelling a few games over the last year or so, anyway, just some traditional games. And they also cancelled the Splinter Cell VR game as well, didn't they? So they are doing a lot of cutbacks. So it was still nice to see Assassin's Creed actually make it to VR in the first place.
Yeah, they're not the powerhouse they were back in the 2010s.
No.
I blame the lack of little original games that were lovely. Um, uh, but you know, Far Cry sells.
It does, yeah. Yeah.
So moving on to more positive news in the gaming spectrum, we have Ghost of Tabor. I assume I'm pronouncing that right. It's just an O. There's no U in there. It's not
I presume so.
Tabor. Um, so Ghost of Tabor has left App Lab. It's more frequent that this happens now, but it's not super common still. And by left App Lab, we mean it's migrated from App Lab onto the proper Oculus Meta store, which is
Yeah.
great.
But what makes Ghost of Tabor stand out amongst all the other App Lab games is the fact that they've been very open and honest about how well, open and honest, how well they've done in App Lab. They prior to hitting the official store, they'd already managed to hit 10 million in revenue through App Lab, which is actually quite a rarity considering how generally inaccessible the distribution service is, isn't it? To be fair. So the fact that they launched in about March 23, and in that time, in less than a year, they managed to accrue 10 million in revenue through App Lab, and now they're officially hitting the main store, so they should be hitting even more customers. Which is it's a great positive story for that, for App Lab and that sort of and going that route for other developers looking to go early access on Quest.
Maybe Ubisoft should have gone with a Tom Clancy style game.
So
Anyway,
I'm just dying here.
congratulations to the team behind Ghost of Tabor. It looks wonderful. Sorry, the success looks wonderful for the whole industry. I hope the game continues to be successful, and we'll see more titles following the path on App Lab, which is tough. So especially well done for generating that kind of revenue on App Lab before going to the main store.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's it. That's all our top stories from the previous week. It's not it. Not it. Oh, Pete, you got another curveball to throw at me here.
Yeah. The Void.
Ah, yes, the Void. Yes,
Yeah,
this was
yeah,
my
the
one.
Void as well, because we've had a little bit of a teasing news from the Void as well. Uh, well, not even news in terms of the company announcing anything. All we saw was a couple of YouTube videos appear. And one of them teases that 2024 could be a bit of a big year for the return of one of the most well-known arcades, VR arcades.
So the Void, for anyone who is new to VR and isn't familiar with the Void, they were not just VR arcades where you would go and play VR games that you would be able to purchase at home, like a lot of VR arcades are. They are VR arcades which have specifically designed experiences for spaces they create, and the experiences are mapped almost one-to-one to these spaces they create. I personally had the privilege of trying Ghostbusters and Star Wars and two or three other non-movie related experiences. I think there was a couple others I tried as well across New York, Las Vegas, and London. And yeah, they are super high quality VR experiences designed for everybody. You don't have to be a VR or a player or a gamer or any prior knowledge. They are super accessible and super entertaining and often tied to big IPs because they also received a lot of finance from Disney, if I recall.
They do, well, they did, but they did also come away from Disney, or Disney dropped them. So
hmm.
I don't expect any of the big IPs, like you say, Star Wars or Ghostbusters, to be making a return.
Well, Ghostbusters isn't Disney,
Well,
so
okay, but yes, the big IPs that Disney were associated with, and the Void, I don't expect to make a return.
I'd like to see them get some new tie-ins, though. I mean, there's lots of opportunity out there that isn't Disney, as shocking as that may seem. So yes, I was a big fan of the Void during that era, and yeah, I hope they can come back with the same kind of quality and build themselves an audience. I'd like to see it happen.
So would I.
Okay, so that's it. No more curveballs this time.
No more curveballs. You're all right. We've hit all our subject matters.
Fantastic. So well done, the Void. Good on your Epic Games, Ubisoft. And yeah, we'll leave it there. we'll see you all next week back here, same time for the Tiny Brains podcast. And as I say, if you're going to GDC, be sure to reach out. Love to chat to you.